give his entire A to Z on what was going on. I didn't interrupt you.
I don't even like I got to everything, honestly.
No, you didn't get to everything.
Interesting guests.
Kelly Graves, Mike Parker, Josh Pate, Melissa Lombardi, Yogi Roth, who said that Justin and I are smart.
Sharp opinions.
I can see Dan Lanning sitting in his office, rubbing his hands together and saying, yeah, bring it on. You're just giving me juice.
I think you could be the type of team that has guys that excel in certain things. You don't need somebody that's great at everything. You need to be able to put guys in position where they're going to succeed.
And some smiles.
Is this thing on?
Is this thing working? No, that's why you got to do this. You got to go.
Hello?
Hello? Testing, testing,
it's like the little
testing.
girl in Nemo where she's tapping on the glass.
Fishy! Fishy, wake up, fishy!
It's Danny Havel.
We have to be more specific. We have a lot of pickle things going on, apparently.
Justin Grossweiner.
It's a Schwar bomb. That's a man right there hitting that ball.
Danny and Justin starts now on Fox Sports Eugene and Newport.
Hello, neighbors, and welcome high atop the Delta Triad in the Crystal Palace of the Fox Sports Eugene and Newport studios. They are the Bigfoot Beverages Studios, live and in person. It's the Danny and Justin radio program, the fastest 60 minutes in sports. You get everything. You get a little of everything here. Not a whole heaping one thing, but just a little bit of everything. It's like going through the sports buffet here on the Danny and Justin radio program. Thanks for tuning in. You can follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky, Danny and Justin, also wherever you podcast, Danny and Justin, or the fastest 60 minutes. The pod magically appears after the program is done, so if you miss any of it today, well, first, shame on you, but second, we're going to rescue you with the pod, and we've got a good show. As always, we're going to talk or hear from the new head coach of the Oregon State Beavers football program, JaMarcus Sheppard. He had his introductory press conference a couple of hours ago. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Will Stein leaving for the old bluegrass of his Kentucky home as he heads to Lexington to be the new head coach, but he's going to hang around for a while. We'll also have the judge, John Warren, to talk all things Oregon State. And is this the right hire? We've got basketball. We've got tickets to give away. But let's introduce ourselves. I'm Danny Havel. That voice over there you can hear next is my tag team partner, Justin Grossweiner. We call him Baby J. Boy.
Well, I know it's crossover season, but somehow I still don't know how there's like so much going on all at once. There's no college football games going on, not most of the days of the week, but somehow it's just dominating the headlines, right?
Well, I think what we're going to be hearing in the next couple of days is, for those that are in conference championship games for college football, we'll be talking a lot about that, and then how the positioning is going to jockey, and who's going to be rooting for who this weekend. Who is not playing, who's going to be rooting for who. And there's that whole BYU Texas Tech intrigue. Where does Texas A&M fit into the picture, since they're not going to be paying Alabama? If they get smoked by Georgia, does Kalen DeBoer head off for greener pastures? And then off the field, Penn State job is still open. As you were listening to Gottlieb just blather a few minutes ago about Kalani Sitake not taking the job at Penn State, he was apparently targeted for that and said no, he's going to stay home, which I guess would be refreshing. But I really love the narrative starts to flip to, man, I don't think Kalani Sitake would have been a great fit for Penn State. Why not? The guy's a hell of a coach. He can recruit like crazy. He's going to bring in all of those big linemen that you want.
Maybe. That was the thing that I saw, is that it was concern about how many players he would be able to bring over from BYU.
Well, but it's not just the players he could bring over from BYU. It's then going out on the recruiting trail.
Course.
And now he's got the Penn State name, and I think Penn State way overplayed this. They, and we can go right back to the People's Commissioner, Josh Pate, on this very program, who has said, if you're going to let go of a coach like James Franklin, you know you need to get an upgrade.
Right.
And right now, the cupboard is bare in terms of good coaches out there.
Right.
Unless you're an unproven assistant as a head coach.
Or you're somebody currently coaching somewhere right now that,
and
like
maybe,
Kalen DeBoer, maybe.
But would that be an upgrade from James Franklin?
I think it would be. I don't think that
One
Kalen
good
DeBoer
year.
is interested. I think that's the problem.
Well, if he gets smoked by Georgia, he very well might be interested.
You think it's that fragile?
He would get.
Do you think it's either you win and you're good with the job, or you lose and then you can't take it anymore?
What
and
have you
the
done
ghost
for
of Nick Saban is looking over your
shoulder?
shoulder.
What have you done for me lately? That's
I don't know. This is a guy that worked his way up from below Fresno State. Worked his way to Washington.
That's the whole thing.
Has like this big job now. I don't see it, honestly. People keep talking about how he maybe isn't content, and I've been hearing things about his wife isn't happy there, and there's all these things. I get it.
The whole thing with the off-field stuff is...
It's very real.
It is very real, but I don't think it's more that Kalen DeBoer is unhappy there. I think there would be the mechanism that is Alabama football that would run him out of town because they have such...
Well, you know what I'll say to that?
4 losses is okay.
That's a university that deserves to lose every single game.
Your vitriol for everything
Alabama
Crimson Tide is amusing to me on many levels.
No, I'll say this, and I'm joking. They don't deserve to lose every single game, but I think that's a fan base basically that has been so spoiled that they're going to have to learn how to be very, very good and not just win every single season and feel like they deserve to win every single season.
So let's since we started yesterday talking about the college football playoff and all the movement and such, let's talk about coaches a bit because Oregon is losing their second offensive coordinator under head coach Dan Lanning. Now, Kenny Dillingham has really shown that he was ready to be a head coach, what he's done at Arizona State, and he went home. Well, Will Stein's going home, in a manner of speaking. Even though he played at Louisville, he's a Kentucky kid, and going back to Lexington, just 36 years old. There's a lot of parallels to him and Dan Lanning's arc in his career.
And Kenny Dillingham.
So, and then also there's off in the distance the specter that Tosh Lupoy, the defensive coordinator for the Ducks, who's been rumored to be the guy that they're going to select at Cal. It's kind of curious why they're waiting to make this announcement unless it's contractual. But this is the nature of, I think if you're a head coach, this is the thing you want to see happen. You want to see your assistants be recognized for their hard work and go off and be able to start doing your own thing and doing it in your vision, learning and taking things and growing underneath a program like Dan Lanning is already starting to build quite a coaching tree.
He has.
And it's going to continue.
Yeah, and I think that look no further than Dan Lanning to see how the process has been for a coach like this when they are leaving university. He coached the national championship game with Georgia while he was kind of working for the Ducks. And we talked about this with Eric Scope yesterday. And I think that in terms of this is what you want, this is what they expect. Dan Lanning, I don't think this is a shock to him. He's not waking up yesterday and going, oh my gosh, Will Stein's gone?
Yeah.
Like, Tosh Lupoy's gone? Like, they knew this was going to happen. And I think that they're prepared for it, quite honestly. This is, I wouldn't even call it being a victim of your own success because I quite honestly don't even see this as a victim thing because I think this is just a natural progression for when you're a really good program like Oregon has turned into, when you're going to bring in coaches who are going to make their name for you under your program and then go on and they're going to lead their own programs.
Can you remember back when Kenny Dillingham announced he was going to leave to go to Arizona State and all of the hair pulling and chest thumping that was going on about, oh, what's Oregon going to do with their offense now? You know, Dan Lanning's a defensive guy. He's got to go get a good offensive mind. And they were like, who's Will Stein coming from Texas San Antonio? I mean, who is this guy? Right. And then it was just like,
And then they started playing, and it was like,
okay.
Maybe this is, and Josh Pate, I think, put it a really good way. It was either equally as good or maybe an improvement of the offense.
I will say bully, dilly, for Will Stein. You know where he was in 2018-19?
No.
He was at Lake Travis. He was at Lake Travis High School in Texas as not even the head coach of the high school program. This was a mere 6 years ago. He was the assistant head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, and I love this. At Texas high school football, he was also the recruiting coordinator.
Oh, okay.
I knew I had to throw that in there because that's what's in his bio. And then he became the pass game coordinator at UTSA, and then the offensive coordinator for 1 year. And then the last 2 seasons he's been here, well, actually now 3 total, he's been here at Oregon. And so he's moving on to the Kentucky Bluegrass and taking, his sons, his dad played football at UK, his mom, an avid fan, and Stein making it full circle. So he's heading there. He's got 2 children, Joey and Demi, his wife Darby, and he is going to coach through however long Oregon plays in the postseason, which is admirable, which I think is expected, especially with a coach that is in the Dan Lanning system. I think if and when Tosh Lupoy announces he's going to go to Cal, they're not playing in a bowl game, I don't think, or even if they are, let Nick Rolovich take care of that. And Tosh Lupoy, just like Dan Lanning did when he was at Georgia, you said that very well, he did both. He was like bleary-eyed. He didn't get any sleep for weeks on end when he was helping Georgia make that next run. So
yeah, it sounds like that's what's expected with Tosh Lupoy as well, is that they're both going to be around for the remainder of Oregon season, which is great. I think that, honestly, I'm not saying that, like, you wanted new coaches, but I mean, I've been saying this for years, that these guys were not going to be around for very long. You kind of knew this was going to happen. And so it's honestly a little bit exciting to have the opportunity to bring someone else in and see what they can do with Oregon and their offense.
It's always interesting. It's always interesting to me, and both of these men will be heading up their own programs for the first time. They've been assistants. They've never had to lead, quote unquote, a program. So I always find it curious how that works out, because there are coaches that you are around and you see that you can kind of get a sense that they're a much better in an assistant role than being the CEO. Because that's anymore, a college football coach, a head coach, is a CEO, a motivator, the closer on recruiting, and he hires good people around him and lets them do their thing. It's always going to rise up to the top. Any good leadership role, it's like they have the final say. So I'm not saying like Dan Lanning is like sitting in the corner and just saying, well, you guys just do everything. I'm just going to go play Sudoku or something like that. That's not happening. But I think it's interesting to see how in the next couple of years Will Stein and or Tosh Lupoy and fill in the blank, because there's a couple of other coaches tied to the North Texas job on the Oregon staff, or I think Rashad Samples is one of those names that's being thrown out. So this might not be done. And for Dan, he's got to concentrate on, Dan, like he and I are buddies, Coach Lanning, he's got to figure out what he's going to do. What's the next phase? And you know what the next phase is? Getting his team ready for whoever they're going to play, whenever they play in the college football playoff.
Well, they're going to be the only team that can say they have 3 head coaches on their sideline, right?
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good.
I mean, it's interesting. We're talking about the whole thing with Cal like it's a done deal. I mean, yeah, it's highly rumored and such, but this thing with Kentucky happened in a heartbeat.
Right after our show.
A couple of hours. And so now there was some talk as well that Kentucky, it wasn't necessarily a done deal until they dropped Brian Hartline off back in Columbus, the wide receivers coach at Ohio State, because he had ties to the Kentucky program as well, and he was a quote-unquote a candidate for that. That happened fast, though. It almost seems like they showed Mark Stoops the door because they knew who their next guy was, and they already had them close to the vest and pretty much locked up. So that was a big buyout again for Stoops.
Well, and there was some talk that Will Stein was maybe a candidate as well for Penn State. That was sort of briefly mentioned. And I heard that they basically, what I heard was that they saw that he was a little bit unseasoned, basically.
Which I love the way there's somebody somewhere spinning a narrative to allow Penn State to get cover about, well, you know what, listen, he was good enough for Kentucky. SEC, not good enough for you. I think Penn State's painting themselves in a corner. I don't know where it's going to come.
They should hire somebody for 1 year and then basically try again next year.
Well, I hear Pete Carroll might be available after the end of this season.
Chip Kelly's available.
Oh, yeah. I mean, did you see the stuff that was floating around about there's a small, and I think they are very small, but they're very loud on the social media, to bring Chip Kelly back here as the
course.
OC.
Yeah, please, can we just not talk about that even? It's just not, I think it's a ridiculous conversation.
Absolutely.
He was the perfect,
I mentioned it once, so we don't need to talk about it.
He was the perfect coach and
for the
coordinator
perfect time.
at the perfect time.
And that was it.
And that time is over.
Right. And I was there on the field for his last game in the Fiesta Bowl against Kansas State. And everybody knew he was leaving. They just didn't know what the destination was, whether it was going to be Tampa Bay or Philadelphia or fill in the blank. They just knew he was gone.
I always thought his biggest mistake was not trying to figure out a way to get Marcus to the Eagles. I thought that was such a missed opportunity.
Listen, I think Chip Kelly is an offensive genius, has been an offensive genius. I think, and I got to know Chip a little bit during my tenure with OSN and such, is I just don't think if he could just sit in a dark room and just write out plays and figure out offenses and stuff and how to attack teams, I think he'd be the happiest guy in the world. He never liked the media thing. He never liked the donor thing. He never liked going out and recruiting players. So the program probably was the best thing for him, except he tried to run pro programs like he was in college, and that was his downfall. It really was. You got guys that are making more money than you, and you're ordering them around, telling them what to eat, when to eat, where to go, on a schedule, and they're like, no,
I think he's a great example of a great college coach that doesn't make necessarily sense in the NFL. Yeah.
So
it happens all the time.
So give me your line on Will Stein, on your thought, because a great offensive mind, obviously, and he's paced
How
Oregon.
I think he'll do.
Yeah, I think it's and listen, he's going. You're jumping into the deep end of the pool, man. Mm-hmm. You're going to this ain't the ACC or the AAC or anything else. It's 3 letters, SEC, and that's the deep end of the pool.
No, it is, and I think that it's a great opportunity for him. Kentucky's not a place that you think of in the SEC that's like, wow, like Kentucky's a powerhouse, but I think that I've said this for the Big Ten. I think just being in the SEC is going to be a huge advantage for you. He's a great offensive mind. People have had their criticism with him, but what is he? You say he's 36?
Yeah, 36 years old.
He's a young head coach. He's going to be a young head coach for another 5 years. So I think that he's a great guy to get into your program and learn to grow with him.
So what's the best job still out there? Is it Penn State? Everybody says Penn State's an A job. Well, then how come nobody's taken the job?
Because, I think that... You think nobody's taken the job, or do you think they haven't offered it to somebody that they really want to take it?
I think they have offered. I think they offered it to Matt Rule. I think they offered it.
Well, that's probably true.
They offered it. They could have offered it to Jim Knowles. They could have offered it to. I think they offered it to several people. And right now, for whatever reason, Pat Kraft and that administration at Penn State, and this goes up to the president as well, is like kryptonite right now. They're radioactive, and nobody wants to be around them.
Right.
And listen.
There's a lot of expectations right now.
Well, but also, coaches talk to each other. Mm-hmm. ADs talk to each other, and that is like this little inner circle club and clique that you can find out a lot of information that's quote unquote off the record that you can use to figure out what you're going to do next.
This is just jumping back to Will Stein real quick.
Yeah.
Totally conjecture, by the way. Mm-hmm. But do you think it would make sense that if that's I think it's finalized, right, that he's going there?
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky announced it. Right. It's on their website. That's why I waited as well. So
for a guy like Austin Novosad to maybe follow him there.
I don't know enough about what the program is right now. I mean, I think it could be natural.
Will Stein's offense.
Right. So, I mean, I think it would be natural. There were some discussions that Dante Moore, because Will Stein's leaving, is now thinking, well, maybe I just go enter the NFL draft. And I really don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to be what determines his case for going to the NFL.
I mean, was there a mass exodus when Kenny Dillingham left?
No.
No.
I think that there's going to be some things like you might see a recruiter too that basically was really tied to that. Like that's natural.
And God bless them. If they feel comfortable with that, go.
Yeah, and Oregon will be fine. I don't think that the Dante thing's going to come down to whether or not Will Stein's there or not. It just I don't think that's the reason why he's coming back or not.
By the way, I'm going to throw out some numbers before we head to a break. Oregon averaging 35 points a game, 158 yards rushing, 280 yards passing. Basically 438 yards of offense.
Really good.
That was in 2024. This year, I mean, just as prolific. Of course, Bucky Irving was great. Troy Franklin was great. Tez Johnson was great. The quarterbacks. I mean, listen, high expectations, though. I'll tell you that as well. I mean, if they're not going to go score 35, 40 points a game, people are going to start going, Now he's going to have to go build his staff. All right, the Judge, John Warren, coming up next. We'll talk a little JaMarcus Sheppard, the Alabama assistant, coming home to Corvallis as the new head coach of the Beaver football program. We've also got tickets to give away for Oregon State men's and women's basketball. So we're going to do that when we come back right before we bring the Judge on, so we can have a whole section of Oregon State, orange and black, when we come back on the Danny and Justin radio program for a Tuesday. Oregon men take on USC tonight, undefeated USC in Big Ten play. We'll talk about that last part of the program. And I don't want to confuse things, but there's also basketball going on tomorrow at MKA, and then on Sunday at Gill Coliseum. We want to give you tickets for some games that are coming up, right? So here we go. So the Oregon Man Clinic's hotline at 541-343-5673 is open for you right now. Caller number 6, we're going to give away for Oregon State men against Southern Utah, and that's on the 6th. And then the women against Alaska Anchorage on the 7th. That's Saturday, Sunday. Also parking passes. What did I say? Caller number 7. Caller number 7 at 541-343-5673. Let's head on over to our other phone line. We have 2 phone lines here at the Fox Sports Eugene and Newport studios, and welcome in His Honor, the Judge John Warren from KJO Radio. He is freshly shorn, I believe. I think he got a haircut recently, and he was at the press conference today as Oregon State introduces their new head coach, 42-year-old JaMarcus Sheppard. He's going to lead the Beavers into the fray in the Pac-12. And John, first of all, welcome back to the program. Thanks for being such a good friend.
Yeah, good to be back. It's been a while. I'm glad you still love me.
We love you, John.
Of course, John. Well, I think he's more talking about me. He knows you love him, but I always love him, too.
By the way, don't forget, tomorrow night at Matthew Knight Arena, Civil War women's basketball.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that as well, but we're going to do that tomorrow because we only have 60 minutes. So we have to condense things down. We got to give you time in your platform to talk about your impressions of the new head man for Oregon State. Comes from Alabama, assistant head coach, wide receivers coach, co-offensive coordinator. So going back to the offensive side of the football, a la Jonathan Smith. This is his first head coaching gig. And so your first impressions, the guy seems like he's incredibly enthusiastic and he's going to be engaging. I think he's going to be a good interview. So just give me your first thoughts.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'll do this in storytelling style. How about
nice.
that?
All right, sit back, kids. Little popcorn. Get ready for the judge. Here we go.
Popcorn. Back in I don't know what year it was, 80 or 81, whenever the first Indiana Jones came out, like 45 years ago. Okay.
Okay.
I had a friend in high school. We were in high school, and he said, dude, you got to see this movie. And he built this thing up so much. And we went to see it, and I was very underwhelmed. And I thought it was because of the hype. And there's been a lot of hype around JaMarcus Sheppard in the last, say, week since last Thursday when the announcement was made, Friday actually.
Yeah.
But it matches it. I am the cynic up here. I was a cynic before virtually every hire, except for Jonathan Smith. I thought that was a good hire at the time. Again, and nobody knows. We never know until a body of work is done. You don't know if your president was any good. You can gauge it. You can gauge in the first couple of years if they're winning games. But you got to wait for a couple of years of a body of work to really be able to criticize because nobody knows. You know why I know that? Because if we all knew, and of course my edge in my voice now is geared more towards listeners and texters and everyone who thinks they know everything, which, that's the world of sports. We would all be in Vegas making millions if we all knew.
Right.
But I like him. I like him a lot. And I liked what his attitude, his enthusiasm, the things that he said. He said all the right things about what he doesn't have and what he can't do or what he has no experience doing and how he's going to shore that up. And that is with his coaching hires when he does that. So, I was very impressed. It was fun to do. We took our show over to the press box, carried it was actually on the network, carried it live. I went downstairs. The whole thing had started, and I asked Mike Parker, I said, because he was down there in a suit. He had to do some introductions. The thing was on YouTube, and so I was kind of just, when you're on a show but you're carrying something, you listen, you make sure that it's working, and then you put your headphones down and go and just kind of participate or watch. And so we let go. First hour was done. Okay, now the network's taken over, and I leave on the press box. I go down to the second floor, and I go to the room that it was in inside of Rooster Stadium. And I opened this big, beautiful glass door, and there was everybody, and everyone could see. It was very embarrassing. So I kind of slithered in and hugged up against the wall and watched the proceedings, and it was fantastic. I left around the time of the question-answer part so I could get back upstairs and then put my headphones on and listen to it. And so I missed a little bit, but I loved everything.
What kind of sense do you get for what he wants to do with his Oregon State offense? Obviously, he's a wide receivers coach, and that's something that you think about the Beavers. It's not necessarily their typical offensive strategy. It's been a lot of ground and pound. I mean, that's what kind of they're known for. Do you think that's sort of going to be a change underneath JaMarcus Sheppard, or do you think that?
Yeah, Justin, I think so. I think so because we didn't get a lot out of him today on that, although it was posed. Might have been posed when I was gone because I don't remember what he said about offense. But he has hired a guy to be the offensive coordinator, Mitch Dolan, who is on the staff at Alabama as a co-offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach. So there's not a lot of play calling and directing experience there. That concerns me a little bit. But, I mean, if he's coming from Alabama and he's running the Alabama offense or part of running the Alabama offense, I'll be okay with that. What I can say is what we've had, like you guys, you get interviews. We've gotten interviews here on the Joe Beaver Show with Chris Taylor. I think his last name was Taylor. He was the voice of Alabama, and then a guy who was the sideline guy on their radio broadcast. And both of them said, without knowing each other was on our show, that they'll do a lot of because I haven't watched much of Alabama football this year, but they'll do a lot of dink and dunk, work the way down the field with extended running plays. So, a swing pass in the stat book, you guys know, goes down as a running play if it's behind the line of scrimmage. And so stuff like that, well, the sideline guy said it's kind of like death by 1,000 paper cuts in that you don't try to go for the big hitter. And I'm okay with that. And then they do want to rely on the run. And so, I'm okay with that too. I do recall when the last coaching staff came in, they were wishy-washy in explaining what the offense was going to be. And I remember that as a red flag, telling all those around me. I was the Eeyore around everyone around my orbit here in the building and friends and whatever. I'm the Eeyore saying, did you hear what he's going to do on offense? Because it didn't sound like there was anything there. Oh, no, this is going to be great. So sometimes it pays to be the Debbie Downer of the group, but, I never want to say I told you so. I never want to do that.
Judge John Warren from KJO Radio, he's not Debbie Downer. He is the voice of reason. He is the calm voice in the room. And I wouldn't say contrarian. I would just say, you've got to look at both sides of the coin because there always is. Just like a pancake, there's always two sides. So JaMarcus Sheppard starts as a wide receiver at Division III DePauw, not DePaul, DePauw, P-A-U-W. And then he gets his first gig at Western Kentucky. Then he moves to Washington State. So he's been out in the West a couple of times now. Purdue, or this is his longest stay, when he was just elevated through wide receivers coach and then passing game coordinator. Then he comes out and joins Kalen DeBoer's staff in Washington, then follows him to Alabama, where he's become the assistant head coach. I mean, he's gradually risen through the ranks. So, John, you've seen it as well, and we've talked about it throughout all these coaching hires that have happened. And Oregon just lost their offensive coordinator, his first head coaching job going to Kentucky. Tosh Lupoy is probably going to go to Cal. Again, his first head coaching job. There's always that chance, but it's also kind of exciting to see someone who's an assistant be able to get their first head coaching gig. But it's also a double-edged sword because sometimes we've seen it, that a guy can be a great assistant, but as a CEO, it kind of falls apart a little bit. Yeah. And Trent Bray is probably, nobody argued that Trent Bray wasn't a good defensive mind and knew what he was doing there. But as a CEO, it just didn't work. So why do you think JaMarcus Sheppard would be different? I know you're looking to a crystal ball a little bit. Why do you think he would be different?
Well, I don't know, because being the non-contrarian but the cynic in me, in kind of a wait and see, because when you're around fans, that they want so bad, and so most of them, everyone's going to get all hyped up and think, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. I, on the other hand, will wait. I just wait and see how it goes. This one's different, though, for me, and I'm being honest. I was not a fan of the Trent Bray hire. I literally used the same term you just did with those around me, saying being a CEO, you're not, because everyone was saying, and by everyone I mean the fan base and our texters and listeners and all that, oh, he's a great D coordinator. Look what he did when he became the D coordinator. Absolutely. Right. He was so much better and really made Jonathan Smith and his staff, the whole staff, successful in that spot. Right. Okay. Yeah. But I kept saying, he will not be the D coordinator. Somebody else will be. He'll be the boss of everything. So I believe you're either made to be the CEO or you're not, and you can be the greatest coach, position coach, or even coordinator there has ever been, and not make it as a head coach. So that question, why will he be better? I don't know if he will be better. That's the thing we have to wait and see. But it's proven, and there is no doubt, he has been a great position coach, and his enthusiasm is infectious, and his attitude with the players would be exactly as you would want. I know that we all pine for the old days of discipline and no mistakes and work hard and all that. He espoused all of that and made me a believer for everything except for how will it work out in the end.
Well, how important is it? Obviously, we have to see how it works on the field, but the last couple coaches for Oregon State, I don't think had that energy. Trent Bray, Jonathan Smith, they didn't have the sort of, you don't win the games in the press conference, but I think there's some value there. And what do you think that is? Like, what do you think that'll do for this program to have a coach finally that can be able to speak to the fan base in a way I think that these previous couple coaches have not been able to?
With enthusiasm.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I think it's huge. I was talking to a colleague afterward. What'd you think? And the colleague said, in the newspaper business, he said, this guy's a salesman. He's an absolute salesman. But unlike a slick salesman, he has substance behind him. You truly believe that the hype part of him is backed with experience and substance. He's been successful everywhere he's been. Climbed the ladder, made huge impressions on everybody he has met. I mean, the two guys from Alabama were saying, oh, man, you guys are lucky. We're going to miss him. There was someone in the athletic department that worked at Washington who said behind the scenes before he was even hired, man, if this guy gets the job, I can tell you right now, everyone's going to love him, and it's going to work out. So to that question, I think he hit a home run. He's a salesman, and we all know that that is most of the job from a head coach, because you're selling to these kids. You're selling to the high school recruits, come here. You're selling to unfortunately, you're selling to the kids with their hands out for the money. And he took on the NIL question, and he had all the right answers. I don't remember what they were, but I liked him at the time. And so, no, Trent Bray was not really that good with the media. He was polite, and he answered questions. He was perfect for our business. Oh, my gosh. Any question he was asked, you'd get about a 5-second answer.
Yeah, perfect.
And so when you go to editing and you see that WAV file, it's like, well, this is easy. You can be done editing his interview in 5 minutes. But not with JaMarcus Sheppard. It's going to be a lot more work, but I am happy to do it because he is a great salesman. So to answer your question, yeah, I think he hit a home run in that department.
Been observing and covering the Oregon State Athletic Department for most of his adult life. It's the Judge John Warren joining us on the Danny Justin radio program from KJO Radio up there in the Corvallis, Albany market. And I guess we're going to talk about roster retention and what the roster might look like. JaMarcus Sheppard's got to do a sales job on the guys he wants to keep and then try and rebuild this roster after a 2-9 season last year and a lot of I don't want to say malcontent, discontent, frustration, a lot of the players and with the upheaval. So, I mean, I guess where does he start? Where do you think the biggest area of concern is going to be for the new head coach? And where do you think he starts?
You mean with the current players?
Current players starting. I mean, because, they've got now the window to be able to transfer out officially, right?
Yeah. When does that start? Do you know? It's 5 days after the coach is hired.
Yeah, so it's a 15-day window.
I forgot to ask that today. What's the official date?
It is. So it would be when he's announced as the head coach.
So 5 days from today.
Yeah, so 5 days he's introduced. I think that's kind of the formal point because anything can happen until they're formally introduced. Somebody can back out of a contract.
Next week, then the guys will start to scatter.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you were on even money, I mean, would there be a name out there that people would go like, wow, I didn't think he would leave. He'd probably give this thing a chance.
Not really.
Okay.
He didn't. He said he spoke to players. I don't remember if he said every player, but he spoke to the players generically. So, again, I don't know how many. Probably the team as a whole.
Is there a position group you think that needs the most attention from what you've seen?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, I know everything. We have to pick one. You got to pick one, John.
Here's what I can tell you. I can tell you, based on what we saw in the last 3 games, not so much the Wazoo game, but the last 2 games,
Tristan Tia.
Christian, thank you. Tia is somebody you want to keep. He's got major upside. He's only a freshman.
There you go.
And he's a redshirt, so he only played in 2-3 games. So he'll come back next year as a freshman. If he were to be a kid to stick around, and in his interviews these last 2 weeks, he is a family guy, and he sounds like he would be the type to stick around. I don't see him running. If they could come up with money that would be pretty good, I don't see him being greedy. I just don't feel like he'd be a greedy kid. So if you can have a quarterback that's pretty good, hang around for 3 or 4 years, that would be unheard of in this day and age. So go after him. Make sure you keep him. Aiden Childs, I don't know who are seniors and who's out of time now, but there really isn't anybody I can think of that you're just like, oh, you've got to keep this guy.
Yeah.
And we saw what Washington State, they lost, I guess, 70 guys. Jimmy Rogers had to come in with 70 players.
Yeah.
And they were exiled to the same island, but they ended up 6-6 and playing in a bowl game. 2 years in a row, they go to a bowl game. 2 years in a row, Oregon State loses out. So the Beavers did not do as well as Washington State did on the same exile island, if you will.
And one of the overall sentiments I've heard just about the Beavers and maybe this hire is that, hey, if he can build up the program, JaMarcus Sheppard, and then leaves after a couple years, they're in the same place that they were. I just don't think that's true. Isn't that what this program needs, is to have somebody build them up? And even if he does leave, it can at least kind of show that it's possible within the program and the new situation to do that and kind of leave it in a better place?
Boy, you are exactly right. In fact, Mike mentioned this today. I always agreed with him, and because we brought it up, a couple of weeks ago when things were, pretty much at their worst. If a guy comes in, and this was before we knew who the coach would be, if a guy comes in and makes you better to the point where he can turn around and go, that would be totally fine, because it shows you a couple of things. It shows you it can be done here. It shows you that someone did it right and can do it right. And you feel good about it. And it's like, okay, let's go find another one like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that would be great. If a guy comes in like that and fails, then you just kind of hang your head thinking, oh man, can anybody get it done here?
Well, I'll be interested to see what David Wells Jr., what Taz Reddick thinks. Riley Williams has already said he's leaving. Those are some juniors and sophomores that I just discussed that I think would possibly, and that's the wide receiver room. So I'm going to think, and I think it'll say a lot of what JaMarcus Sheppard thinks of who he tries to keep from this roster and where he goes out looking elsewhere. And, he's late on the recruiting trail, so, they're going to have to really, really hustle. But that's all about his coaches as well and the guys he's going to bring in.
Well, they're losing guys in this class, this high school class. There's a ton of work to do.
Yeah.
But that was brought up, and he had a really good answer. He said, in one way or another, everybody in the country is in this situation.
Yeah, there are a lot of jobs. There's a lot of turnover. It'll be interesting to see who follows him from Alabama as well. I don't think that should be discounted, because he was a top-level recruiter. And those guys have loyalty to the people, that he went in mom and dad's living rooms and convinced them, hey, I'll take care of your kid. And so, if he leaves.
Keep an eye on a kid.
Okay.
I think his name is Kevin Mack or something like that. He's backup quarterback from University of Washington by way of growing up in California.
Okay.
For Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And the sideline reporter guy said he might be a guy that would follow and come here. And he was a 4-star. I think he was a 4-star quarterback coming out of high school, going to Washington, and went with Kalen DeBoer. Well, he's a quarterback. So he might be a guy that might end up coming here thinking there's opportunity to play right away, because he's a backup. And I think he's a sophomore now.
Well, that would be the first one. That's the first piece. That's the king.
Yeah, Austin Mack. He is
Austin Mack, there you go.
Former 4-star.
Yeah, there
6'6", 235.
All right.
Yeah, and he's got the 6'6" and a rocket arm, and apparently he's really good too. But this, what's the guy's name? Simpson at I don't follow.
Oh,
Alabama
Ty Simpson.
football.
Yeah, Ty Simpson. Yeah. We don't
He's
follow
good,
Alabama either, by the way. Don't get Justin started.
You missed me.
We all follow college football.
You missed me earlier.
We're memorizing players from around here, but we of course we all know about all these different names in college football.
Right. You missed me earlier in the program saying I would wish them to lose every single game.
This is what I have to put up
Have you
with.
heard anything about Penn State and Kalani Sitake?
That he said no. He's going to stay.
He did?
Yeah, he said no. That just came out. It dropped that he said thanks, but no thanks. He's going to stay.
Down Penn State. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think they're radioactive right now, John. There's something going on that nobody's talking about.
Beaver defensive coordinator under Gary Anderson.
Oh man, I'm just telling you. They're going to have to go down. They might go down to the FCS level, which is going to just make the Penn State faithful going crazy.
They fire a guy that takes them to the semifinals a year ago, who took them to amazing heights in his entire time there. James Franklin, who gets a great job right away and is already recruiting really well there for next year. And they think, this isn't good enough. They are going to find out real fast that all the good ones are taken. And anybody they bring in, if I'm a fan of Penn State, I would say, this guy's better than James Franklin? Probably not.
Well, we said it before, and we had him on the program. The commissioner of college football, Josh Pate, the People's Commissioner, said you never fire a guy unless you think you're going to move up. You don't make a lateral move or move down.
And have a plan.
Yeah,
to
have
move
a
up.
plan. Absolutely. Judge, we love you, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Keep your head up and get your nap in.
All right. Thanks, man.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thanks. It's the Judge John Warren. All right, we're behind time. We're gonna be able to hear a little JaMarcus.
Yeah, I think we can fit it in.
We'll fit it in here. We'll take one quick break. Come back. We got Beaver. Did we give the tickets away? I think we did. We'll give you the winner of the Beaver tickets when we come back. USC, U of O tonight at Mac Court. We'll talk about that. Dana Altman's got to get this team turned around. Ducks are 4-3 on a little bit of a slide. They can get it all right against the men of Troy tonight. The Danny and Justin radio program rolls on. Civil War for women's basketball renews on Wednesday night in Eugene, 6 p.m. at MKA. It's the first time. They didn't play last year. The first time that these two teams are going to play when they weren't in the same conference. So
I'm super excited.
It's be a pretty good game.
It's a really good game.
Yeah, and the Oregon women are undefeated still. They're 9-0 going into that game. So talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. Men tonight hosting USC. That will be a 7 p.m. tip. USC leads the all-time series 69-64. Oregon, though, has won the last 5 in a row, and boy, are they in desperate need of a win right now. Ducks are 20-7 against USC under Coach Dana Altman. Jackson Shellstad scored 19 points, 4 assists in the most recent meeting, which was it was way back in March of 2025, so beginning of the year. But the Ducks they're reeling right now. 3 straight losses down in Las Vegas, call it Las Vegas, to Auburn, San Diego State, and Creighton. They really weren't in any of those games. Just be honest about it. And Dana says that, Coach Altman says, I'm calling all the coaches by their first names right now. That's really unprofessional of me. Is
it really? Are you allowed to call him that?
I don't know about that. It's just that decorum thing. If we
you wouldn't call him to his face that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, Dana.
But everybody knows who Dana is. I mean, I think
Coach Altman.
You're the experienced one.
Coach Altman has, fallen on the sword as well. He'll always say he hasn't coached his team very well. Says it year after year in December when I'm not playing. The first time he hadn't said it in many, many years was last year. He still said that there are things to improve, and of course there always will be. But the Ducks need to start figuring some things out, especially offensively. The offense has been lagging, and it's very un-Coach Altman-like.
You were to say on Dana-like, weren't you?
I was going to say that, but I'm not going to.
Well, I think it also should be mentioned, Nate Biddle and Devin Pryor, both
out.
Very questionable, is what the wording is.
That probably would not be the best thing.
They did not practice either Saturday or Sunday. So, I mean, Nate Biddle, I'd like to have seen him out of Devin Pryor at times. He's kind of flashed, but Nate Biddle is, I think, you talk about Jackson Shellstad kind of being the guy on this team. I think Nate Biddle is just as important, if not maybe some. I don't know if he's more important. It's kind of hard to say.
Well,
They're
it'd be
both super important.
Listen, so that means Kwame Evans. It means Jackson's going to have to carry this team, and other guys are going to have to step up. That's all there's to it.
Absolutely.
It's 5 guys on the floor.
Want
to
see them both get healthy.
Yeah, let's see what happens. So that's tonight. If you can make it out, please do. Let's fill it up. Let's get MKA loud. And it is 7 p.m. If you're not going to be there, it'll be on FSN.
This is when you need to support your team the most, right? When they're struggling.
And middle of the week. You get stretch out with all that turkey leftovers. I had turkey enchiladas last night.
Did you? Were they good?
Yes, they were pretty good. We're not ready for dad joke
I know
yet.
you've looked over there.
I looked over there. No. So let's hear from JaMarcus Sheppard. So
let's do it.
And one of the things he said, is being asked about, how he's approaching this and how he's approaching having Beaver Nation kind of welcome him in and wanting to know how he wants to engage with the fans.
Do not hesitate to come up and say hello to us. I truly appreciate the opportunity to engage with you, with everyone involved in Beaver community.
So you can just hear it in his voice right there. One of the things that I think has been kind of a theme with new coaches coming in is some old coaches that apparently did not want former players hanging around the team on the sidelines, in the locker rooms, even coming in and talking to the team or in team meetings. JaMarcus Sheppard talks about that.
Let me tell you right now, all the alumni, get your butt back here. All right? I want you back here. I want you on the sidelines, okay? I want you engaging with our players. I want you sitting in meetings, okay? I want you sitting in my office talking to me about your experience here at Oregon State and how we can mirror that, all right, or how we can enhance that experience for our current student athletes. We want this to be the greatest experience in their lives as student athletes here at Oregon State.
So, Jaquiz, Steven, Chad,
Brandon.
See, we can all call them first names. So everybody knows who they are. So they want you back. Coach wants you back. And I think I'm happy I have a lot of friends who are Oregon State, like radical Oregon State fans. They have been so disenfranchised over the last couple of years. When the Pac-12 broke up and then the Jonathan Smith leaves and how it spiraled out of control from a 5-7 to a 2-9 season, and they just spent a boatload of money to improve the facilities there. And Reser Stadium, the Valley Football Complex, is really nice. It's incredible, and it's not just it's nice for Corvallis. It's nice. Mm-hmm. I don't care where you're at. So I'm happy that they're going to have somebody at the helm that's going to be enthusiastic, that's going to get the fans engaged, get the public at large who maybe wasn't a fan of Oregon State before, to get them in, and the former players. I think that's huge, to get the right. Tide of the past coming back into the building.
Right. I think he's doing everything right pre us actually knowing how good of a head coach he is. Exactly.
It's still going to come down to wins and losses, baby.
It's super important, but if that marriage is there, if he can really get the results with what he's talking about, the way that he can kind of grab people, then they have something.
It's not show friends. It's show business. So.
Oh, a joke!
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
Dad jokes!
Here's a couple here. Okay, well, I got plenty of time. There's all week long. Why did the banana go to the doctor? Why did the banana go to the doctor? It's a punny one. Because it wasn't peeling well.
It wasn't peeling well.
It wasn't peeling well. My wife wouldn't like that joke because she does not like bananas. She's chuckling right now, but she's like, yeah, no.
What's wrong with bananas?
She doesn't like bananas. They're slimy.
Oh.
She doesn't like bananas.
I can't say anything.
The texture for her is what's off-putting.
It's a lot of times what it is for people with things. It's
but
not
then,
even the taste.
But then it becomes the taste as well. I love bananas. It's great in potassium. You feel like you're cramping up or whatever, eat a banana. Instant.
Bananas are great. I love bananas.
No idea what we're doing tomorrow, but we know it's going to be Wednesday. So if you want to, join us. And if you miss anything, like the Judge John Warren, or listen to us talk about JaMarcus Sheppard, go back to the pod. It'll be up shortly. For Baby J, I'm Danny. Put a smiley face on someone else's. They deserve it. So do you. God bless. Peace.